Hello! I can finally start talking about the new strike and the new 3-man activity called Prison of Elders. In this video, I will be giving you my impressions on Prisoner of Elders since it's pretty lengthy. We'll have another video out soon of my impressions on the strike and another where we compile all of the new information from the stream plus what I learned while doing the activities when I was at Bungie. So this video will just be all about my initial impressions of Prison of Elders. You can matchmake in this mode, but you'll be rewarded more for forming your own team. Mesa Sean, Dado, and I started off doing the level 32 version. It begins with your 3 guardians spawning in a central location called the airlock. The camera does this dramatic 360 pan to feature you and all your friends' gear, and it's a nice little immediate bit of flair to get you pumped up for what's to come. Before we actually got to fight anything, we took in the starting room a little bit. There are 4 doors with corresponding item for each race. We guessed that's what represented what was inside each passage. All of a sudden this door opens up and a crackling voice comes over the intercom to tell us to enter the first encounter. Sorry, I couldn't actually get the voice on the footage. All my footage had a really weird sound error on it, so for now I'll just do an impression of it. If you're going to fight the Cabal, it would say something along the lines of, "Guardians, the Cabal are a tenacious foe. Break them." So going in, we really had no idea what this thing was, so it kind of freaked us out a bit. We were shooting it thinking it was an enemy, but it wasn't. It eventually just retreated down a tunnel where we saw a modifier pop up as well, so we knew we were going to be fighting the Cabal with the Juggler modifier. Speaking of modifiers, there are some new ones that we encountered. Catapult, which increased the recharge time of your grenades, then there's Brawler, increasing the melee damage that you dish out, and Trickle, reducing the recharge time of all of your abilities. These are the ones that we saw, but by no means is it an exhaustive list. Some help you and the enemy, some just hurt. Then there's also the skulls that we've seen before, like Juggler and Light Switch. If you fail a room, you'll restart at the beginning of that same room with the same modifier. So we zoned in and we were greeted with a bunch of Cabal infrastructure scattered about. It looked like the Cabal had kind of fortified the room with their own little fortress. Before we could really take in the sights, a 0 of 3 waves completed notifier pops up in the top and we just start getting swarmed by various Cabal mobs in all directions. We also noticed that there were mines scattered about the room. If you see a giant fuzzy blue effect, it's probably one of us triggering a mine. The mines would make you walk slower, would deal damage to you, and don't affect the enemy at all, so be wary of them. The first wave wasn't difficult at all. It was only composed of tier 1 Cabal enemies. We had 1 or 2 shielded captains, but they all fell down pretty quickly. As the waves died down, we started testing out stuff in the room a little bit more. The fire that's around the room is simply there for show. It doesn't actually hurt you to stand in it. During the second wave, Dado ended up dying to something. I think it was a Cabal phalanx melee that just sent him crashing into something that was more solid than him. The important thing that we took away from this is that on the level 32 difficulty, you can be resurrected after a 30-second timer. We were able to clear the third wave with extreme ease. Once we did, we saw a modifier's clear sign pop up on our screen, and we saw a brief breakdown of the kills and deaths of that encounter. After that, we were prompted to leave the room and go back to the central area. So once we made it back to this central airlock, the servitor looking thing greeted us at the door very creepily and with a new modifier. We knew that this room was going to be a Hive themed area, and we weren't too happy about Light Switch being the modifier. The typical amount of tier 1 Hive just poured out of the woodwork, but they were just easily dispatched as well. We took this time to test how to take care of the mines that were scattered about the room. You can actually shoot them, but they're a little bit difficult to hit, so we ended up just triggering them by running quickly past them. During the second wave, we finally saw something new happen. To complete this wave, we had to destroy 3 splinter mines. We see the first one pop up and immediately go over to it and shoot it. It was pretty simple. The mines were labeled A, B, and C and would spawn one after another. You had about 20 seconds to find them and destroy them. After the second wave was completed, the notification that Varix presents a gift popped up on the screen, and we were gifted a heavy ammo drop similar to the Crucible ones. The third wave is where we had our first problem. First off, Mesa Sean and Dado somehow died. I didn't really catch why, as I was suddenly swarmed by thralls and had to try and kill those and all the mines by myself. What I learned here is that Galahorn does not destroy one of those splinter mines in one hit. It takes 2. I had just been so used to Galahorn carrying me that I didn't notice that the first mine was still up. I tried to destroy it after a little while longer, but the timer had passed and it exploded, which triggered the Warden's punishment debuff that promptly killed me. Lesson learned. I decided to switch up my loadout after failing there to a shotgun. Snipers just didn't seem too effective against Hive since most of the oh crap moments were due to mobs surrounding you. We were greeted by that creepy eye once again and restarted the second encounter. Now that we knew what to expect, going in made destroying mines just much simpler. They spawned in the same place as the previous attempt, so it would have been nice to see them randomized around the room a little bit more. One more thing to note, once we got that third wave, the gift from Varix wasn't heavy ammo this time, but a giant rocket launcher. It operated similar to a relic. You win in third-person mode to carry it around, and you have a limited number of shots. It doesn't perform exactly like a rocket launcher though. It will do a massive amount of damage to what you hit, but the blast radius is pretty small on it, so you have to make your shots count. Whoever uses it should have very good accuracy and not waste any shots on tier 1 enemies. Communication will lead to the best results with it. We made our way back to the central airlock and waited for the third encounter. Mesa Sean was able to keep this giant rocket launcher relic thing in between rounds here, so that might be something worth considering. If you can make it through an encounter without using it, it might be worth taking it to a later one that's more difficult to do. The third encounter was going to be in the Fallen area now, and with a new modifier. Catapult will increase the rate at which grenades recharge, so I thought, great, something that benefits us for a change. Apparently Servitor's Blast also counts as a grenade as well, because they were going crazy with the eye blasts in there. The first wave went down pretty easy. The second wave is where we were introduced to another new mechanic. We saw the familiar splinter mines from the second encounter, but this time we had to defuse them instead of destroy them. We quickly realized that you had to be directly under the mines to defuse them. This prompted us to run around the room like crazy. Once we had the second wave down and we got everyone rezzed back up, Varix gave us another rocket launcher to mess around with. It was Datto's turn to wield it this time, and we had another round of splinter mines to defuse. Now that we knew what to do, this wave went by much smoother. We got the modifier's clear notification and moved back to the central airlock. At this point, we were pretty happy with how the difficulty had been slowly ramping up. We were starting to see more tier 2 enemies, and the challenges were getting a little bit more difficult to complete. I enjoyed how the fights were actually designed so that you couldn't just sit back and cheese the encounter from one position. You had to move around and take care of the mines and pick up heavy ammo. The fourth wave was going against the Hive, and with another new modifier too. Brawler granted Guardian melee attack extra damage. So finally, we got to put the fear back into the thralls. As we zoned in, we had a brief cutscene to watch this time. A giant container orb opened up and a mob called Wretched Knight was inside. It seemed our challenge was to destroy a mini-boss. Continuous mobs spawned during the encounter, so it felt more like a normal strike difficulty boss. The modifier made things a lot easier for us, since thralls were easily dispatched. At one point, I decided to test exactly how powerful our melee buff was by meleeing the boss. It went about as well as expected, and I was quickly dispatched. The fight just kind of grinded on from there. We slowly chipped away at the boss's health while taking care of all the adds. After we completed this fight, we moved our way back into the central airlock to face our fifth and final encounter. From the load-in screen, we knew it would be against the Cabal named Valis Truareg. We zoned into the room and were met with another cutscene of this giant Cabal popping out of container bubble. We wiped a few times trying to figure out the best way to actually do this fight, and we quickly learned that staying at the start was a horrible idea. Mobility was going to be the key. Juggler was active, so that was making it a pain, but the real frustration came from Truareg himself. He had an overshield which would recalibrate itself every so often to a new elemental damage type. The fire team had to have an array of weapons to actually take care of his shield effectively, but also be able to eliminate the numerous solar shielded mobs around the room. Datto found that Invective made pretty quick work of most of the captains, and I used Murmur since I could change it to arc damage on the fly. I kept with Galahorn as my exotic since it did a hefty chunk of damage once Truareg's shield actually went down. As I said earlier, we had to stay pretty mobile in the fight. The mobs would flank us pretty well and they would spawn from different areas in the room, so we couldn't get too comfortable in one place. We ended up alternating from one side of the room to the other so we could put some space between us and the new pack of enemies. Datto's blinding bubble was pretty crucial here. He would drop it in certain choke points and it was able to control most of the enemies until we could just catch our breath. Truareg himself wasn't a slouch during the fight. He would aggressively try to flank or charge us, so again, staying mobile was the best option. Eventually though, we were able to whittle down his health and drop him. We made it back to the central airlock and were greeted by the central iris in the floor opening up. As far as what happens after that, well, you're just gonna have to clear through Prison of Elders yourself to find out. Bungie wants us to be very tight-lipped about what happens after you clear through the 5 encounters, so sorry I can't actually go into that into any more detail. Now, as far as my impressions go, keep in mind that we only went through level 32 difficulty. Even without any guides to help us, we cleared it in under 45 minutes. The encounters themselves were pretty fun to complete and did promote mobility and teamwork. We were in a pretty crowded room, so doing callouts were a bit difficult, and I imagine the run would have gone even smoother had we been able to communicate easily. Dado and I ended up taking a shorter lunch break than others just to try and get some time on the level 34 difficulty. We were able to duo the first room easily after one wipe. The second room was much more difficult. We had the normal kill stuff waves, but the final wave had an eliminate the target challenge on it with 4 checkpoints, so this worked similarly to eliminate the target public event. We had a set amount of checkpoints to kill this target before we failed, and we were killed. The level 34 difficulty is where the activity really starts opening up, I feel. Level 32 was just kind of a simple introduction and overall formality. I wasn't able to complete the level 34 version before we had to switch to the PvP maps, but from what I saw on the other playtester screens, it was pretty difficult. The Vex area looked interesting and extremely challenging. The tasks you had to complete got more difficult as you went on, just like the level 32 version. Do I think that this can take the place of a raid? Well, not really, but thankfully it doesn't need to. It's another activity entirely. In the PlanetDestiny podcast, I talk a lot about how it'd be nice to have challenge modes from World of Warcraft and Destiny in some form. Prison of Elders really feels like challenge modes. It requires less people than the raid, is more accessible than a raid, but is still very challenging depending on what difficulty you choose. The Prison of Elders seems tough in all the right ways. Enemies spawn from all over and rush you unapologetically. It scales slowly from wave to wave and round to round, giving you a chance to get acclimated to what you're facing. Enemy behavior was also refreshing. Crota's End involved quite a lot of positioning so that you just simply avoided the Hive, and then you just picked them off one by one. The Hive would arbitrarily advance and retreat, and it was simply your job to learn these patterns and take them out. The bridge, Ear-Ute, and the Crystal Room were all very static, involving almost zero mobility when actually fighting. Prison of Elders at first glance doesn't seem to labor under these restrictions nearly as much. I'm interested to hear and what you guys actually think of PoE. Are you excited, or are you just surprised to see how it turned out? Or are you disappointed that it might not have enough content to keep people roped in? I think the environments and the atmospheres are fantastic. The map designs are chaotic and match the pace of the fight to a T. There's multiple levels in which to gain height advantages, cover to take advantage of, and nothing seems out of place. The Cabal, Hive, and Fallen all have distinctive areas that suit them perfectly. Early fears of a bland, static, and flat field of battle can just be put to rest. What I like most about this activity is that the Cabal, Hive, and Fallen you encounter swarm from all over. There's no immediately predictable pattern to their movements. Wizards, Centurions, Captains, Servitors, and Knights were also thrown into the mix with brutal frequency. As you can see from the footage, staying put earns you a very quick death sentence from your foes. The key to success will be staying cool in the face of it and actually carving your own path through all of this madness. Let me know what you guys think. There's going to be a stream recap video as well as gameplay of the new strike out soon, so watch out for those. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This has been Patrick Casey with PlanetDestiny, your guide to the Destiny universe.